What's going on, guys? Welcome to Double Shot Sports.
Where our predictions are always 90 proof.
That's right. My name's Gavin. That's my dad. And we're going to go ahead and jump straight into it today. NFL playoffs are still going on. We got the conference championship game set in stone coming up this weekend. But we're going to go ahead and talk about the divisional round before we get into those two games. We had the San Francisco 49ers hosting the Minnesota Vikings last weekend. And they really took care of business, let's be honest. Jimmy Garoppolo and company, that defense. Let's be honest. I mean, Minnesota, did they really stand a chance? You might have.
Well, they had a chance when it was 7-7.
Yeah, I mean, you might have thought from the very beginning of the game when Kirk dropped in that nice 40-yard pass to Stephon Diggs, but 27-10, the scoreboard really doesn't tell the tale of this game.
No, it's a talent. It's a talent. To me, it's a talent thing. It's Niners just have a really good team, young team. I think they're going to be in the Super Bowl, so I don't think Green Bay has a chance.
They were the number one seed for a reason, especially after wrapping up the end of the year regular season, that is, beating Seattle in Seattle. But yeah, Kirk Cousins, to me, and like I said a couple videos ago when they took down the New Orleans Saints, that was convincing to me that he's headed in the right direction, but I don't think anybody anticipated them going into San Francisco and being able to take this game from them. But I do think that they're on the right direction. I think Kirk has come a long way, but I think it's going to be another year or two before he's going to get them at a shot in maybe the conference championship or the Super Bowl.
I think some of the things, what they thought is that, San Francisco's had a lot of games this year where it's been a one-score win, and they thought, okay, well, the Vikings had, and they did. They had as good a chance. Some fluke could have happened, but the Niners just have. They've matured over the year, and I'm a Cowboy fan.
Yeah.
So the Niners aren't a team that I root for, but I really like Garoppolo. He's a good kid.
They're a team you have to respect every time you step foot on the field.
Yeah, but I agree.
Let me move on to the second game. This is one that I'm really surprised that people were shocked at the outcome. At a lot of the sports, shows on TV like ESPN, Fox Sports, and all that, or radio stations, or really just social media in general, I feel like a lot of people were giving Tennessee a shot to go into Baltimore and take that game, and they absolutely did from the very beginning. 28-12, again, does not tell the full story of how dominant the Titans were in this one. And your man, Derrick Henry, I know you were raving about him in the wild card weekend, and then he shows up again.
I didn't think that he would run on that defense the way that he ran on that defense, but that offensive line does one hell of a job blocking for him. It's just, and not only the offensive line, but that defense, the defense they ran kept that quarterback in check the whole game. And he still got 100 yards, but they kept him in check pretty much the whole game.
Which is, like I said, it doesn't. When you look at the box score and the statistics of this game, you see that Jackson had 365 yards passing, 20 carries for almost 150 yards. He had over 500 yards of total offense and only 12 points to show for it.
Because they put him in a corner. You got close and they put him in a corner. It's the defense they were running, and the guys stayed at home. Nobody got out of place. Everybody stayed at home. He still got his yard. He's a hell of an athlete, but Tennessee is really. We didn't pick it. We didn't pick Tennessee.
We didn't.
Odds favorite was Baltimore,
and they were favored
at home.
7.5, 8 points going into this game. So,
but was I sad that they lost? No. I'm not a big Baltimore fan, but
everybody loves an underdog story. But I feel like this team specifically is giving me a lot of vibes to what the Giants did in 2010, 2011. When they beat the New England Patriots and made it all the way to the Super Bowl.
If they don't find a way to stop Henry, the guy's 6'3", 260, 250?
He's huge.
And he runs a lot like Eddie George, if anybody's watching out there remembers Eddie George. But the Oilers or the Titans, they've always had big running backs.
Yeah,
so
going all the way back to the days of Big Earl.
It may be a good omen for the Tennessee Titans that they've got a running back, and he's really good.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think at the end of the day what it came down to is Tennessee went into Baltimore and beat them at their own game.
Yep.
That's what it came down to. Again, this is I think the biggest question coming out of this really isn't what can the Titans do going forward, because this is 2 games in a row now that we've seen what they're capable of with Derrick Henry, with a defense, with an offensive line, and a signal caller in Ryan Tannehill that's really commanding the offense the way that, let's face it, Marcus Mariota couldn't do. So when I go back to it, the question that I come to out of this game that everyone seems to be asking is, what is wrong with Lamar Jackson? I mean, he's had 2.
There's nothing wrong with Lamar Jackson.
He's had 2 incredible regular seasons, and he's now 0-2 in the playoffs after acquiring a number 1 seed.
Because people figure out how to defense a running quarterback. They figure it out. If you can go back through history to every Super Bowl, I don't know of one running quarterback, that I can think of right off the top of my head that has won a Super Bowl. You're one a guy that's the director of your offense, and Tannehill does a great job. I bet he's happy as hell to have left Miami, because this is a really young, good team, and it's got nowhere to go but up.
Well, and Miami at this point is wondering, where the hell was this Ryan Tannehill whenever we were struggling. His previous playoff record was 0-1.
He's got an offensive line now, so that kind of saves him from concussions. Miami,
take notes. Let's go game number 3. This one, as a Bears fan, I didn't really care much to watch, but it was an interesting game nonetheless. Seattle heading to Lambeau Field in Green Bay, taking on Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, which, don't get me wrong, I love Aaron Rodgers, but I really wish he was wearing some different colors. 28-23 final score. Again, I think that the scoreboard doesn't tell the tale of this game, and how Green Bay was really in command, I think, the entire time. But
I said it last week. Russell Wilson misses a lot of opportunities to me. Yeah, he runs around, but he doesn't see the whole field. He gets lucky a lot. I think he zeroes in on one particular receiver, whatever game it is. He zeroes in on that receiver. And this week it was number 16. I can't think of his name right offhand.
Tyler Lockett.
And so Lockett had, I don't know how many catches, so he was zeroed in on Lockett.
9 receptions for 136 yards.
Yeah. So Green Bay controlled the game pretty much. I mean, yes, there were some close calls. There was the last first down call. Was it close? Wasn't it? It looked like he got it, but other people say that he didn't. But
and I think the biggest thing about that are people are saying where that yellow line is, that's the first down. When in reality, the first down marker is where the first down is. A lot of times, really, that yellow line doesn't dictate like the line to gain.
And if you notice, if you were watching the replays of the slow-mo, you could see that yellow line kind of moving a little bit. So if they called it a first down on the field, it was a first down, and they're not going to overturn that because it was too close to overturn. But Green Bay commanded the game pretty much, for the.
What are you trying to say here?
Marker.
You're going to have to cut that out. Green Bay commanded the game pretty much all 4 quarters, and yes, Seattle had bouts. Looks like they were going to come back, and that old gum chewing Pete Carroll was, gnawing at the bit trying to get the lead, but Aaron Rodgers did enough to get them in the win column and get them to the championship game. So
yeah, Aaron Rodgers does Aaron Rodgers things. Now, don't get it confused that just because I think that Green Bay was in control for the majority of the game, I still don't think that their 13-3 record, their number 2 seed in the playoffs, for me, they don't take me as a team that is ready to be in the conference championship, especially going up against a San Francisco team that has all the weapons that they do at the receiver and running back position. Jimmy Garoppolo, who has been pretty hot the entire season. He's had a couple cold games, but that's to be expected. And then that defense, that front 7. I don't know if Green Bay's
their defense is not. I worry about their defense and holding back that Niner offense. But if there's one guy I'd want behind the helm, with the experience that Aaron Rodgers has, that's who I'd want. And he'll keep it close, but I think Niners will win the game.
I think at this point, you tell Aaron to go out there and do Aaron things, and then pray to God that you can come out with a win and go to the Super Bowl. But
yep.
I think at that point, it's it's really leaning in San Francisco's favor right now. Let's go and wrap it up with the most exciting game and the most upside down, backwards playoff game that I have ever witnessed in my 22 years on this earth. Houston went to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs after they beat Buffalo in overtime by a field goal, and that was a game in itself. So I think there's a trend here with the Texans that we're going to end up seeing. But if I were to tell you that the Houston Texans were up 24-0 in the second quarter against Kansas City, and I told you that they lost by 20, you would have said I was crazy.
I think there were some KC fans that shut the TV off after that first quarter. So I had, as Gavin is my witness, I had faith. And I said, this quarterback's not done for KC. He's going to bring him back. And he was on the sidelines telling him to calm down, one play at a time. And they got some breaks.
Yes.
Which teams need that to climb back in it. And man, did they take advantage of that. And they just took the air right out of Houston's tires.
Well, and a lot of
they
times,
never recovered really.
A lot of times when teams are granted those opportunities, they don't always cash in. Kansas City, every opportunity they were handed, they cashed in and then some.
They had 8 straight scoring plays.
Yeah, they didn't.
7 straight touchdowns.
They didn't let off.
Yeah, they just put their foot on the gas and they just kept coming. But that's the team they are. I mean, that's an Andy Reid team, and they've not lost in the playoffs after a bye week.
Yep.
Not an Andy Reid team. So he had that going for him.
Them going up against the Titans next week is a little different, but we'll go ahead and get to that in a second. On the other side of the football, Deshaun Watson had almost 400 yards passing, a couple touchdowns. Didn't really have a lot of help other than DeAndre Hopkins. But man, you have to think the momentum kind of shifted on that 4th and 4 or 4th and 5 going from their own 30 on that fake punt.
Yeah, I would have punted it.
If you're the special teams coach in that situation, or really if you're the owner and you see that happen, what do? Are you calling for his job, or you just give him a harsh talking to? I mean, really, at that point.
Well, here's the thing. The coach got him that far, okay, when nobody really picked him to go anywhere. Houston's, one game from, playing for the championship. So I don't know if I'd, you might talk to him about it, but I wouldn't get on him too hard about it. He got that team without J.J. Watt for pretty much the whole year.
Yeah, almost the whole year. I just think at this point, Houston being 0-3 in the second round, and I mean, granted, they are the youngest franchise in the league at 18 years old.
They'll be back.
But 18 years, 3 losses in the second round, not being able to get over the hump. Do you think it would be an overreaction to fire a few people on the coaching staff?
That's probably what will happen, but I wouldn't fire the head coach. I mean, he's got him playing good.
Deshaun Watson, the quarterback, swears by Bill O'Brien that he's a great guy, he's a great coach, and he doesn't want a coaching change. So it'll be really interesting to see how that plays out.
I'd leave him in place. I mean, it's a young team. They like him. The players like the coach, and they're not the first team to blow a lead like that. So,
and they won't be the last. But let's go ahead and get into the matchups here. Let's start with the NFC Championship game. You already know what it is. Green Bay Packers going to the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners are favored by 7.5 in this game. That might seem surprising to some people, but I'm not shocked. Like I said, and like you mentioned, Green Bay's defense is very sketchy at this point. Not to mention, is their offensive line going to hold up against San Fran's front 7? Who do you have winning this game?
Well, it's San Fran. I don't know if it's, they're a one-score win team. I mean, it's the way it's been, all year. So 7.5 points, I can see why they've got the spread like that. So, but it's going to be the Niners. They're playing at home. They're a young team. They got a good defense. They're going to win the game. Yeah. If they don't win, it's going to be a fluke.
Yeah. There's really the only thing I think it could come down to, if we're going to be honest here, is Jimmy Garoppolo. This is his first NFC Championship game. This is his first championship game.
Take a deep breath, Jimmy.
Being the starter, okay? All those that are going to be in the comments telling me, well, he was with the Patriots, okay? But he didn't play in any of those games, so let's understand. He's the starter. He's the signal caller here. If the jitters get to him, if the butterflies get to him, that's really, I see, the only way that the Niners are going to come out of here with a loss. But like I said, if Aaron Rodgers can do Aaron Rodgers things and really will the Green Bay Packers to the Super Bowl, it could happen. It's not out of the realm of possibilities, but I'm also going to take the Niners in this one. On the flip side of things, really, this is the more interesting game in the AFC. Is the Tennessee Titans going to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs? Kansas City favored by 7. I think that's a little high in this scenario, just because of how good the Titans have been in their first 2 playoff games.
I don't even know if I want to even. You usually go for the home team, but the Titans have proven that wrong pretty much through the whole playoffs there.
Now, I will give Kansas City credit. Their defense has stepped up a lot more during the playoffs than they did in the regular season. But is that step up going to be enough to slow down Derrick Henry? Like, first of all, you have to ask yourself 2 questions. First, can you keep him under 190 yards rushing? And then can you keep him under 100 yards rushing?
I will predict he won't get 150 yards rushing, but because the Chiefs have a pretty good defense. Not great, but it's pretty good defense. And they will have to run the ball because the wind swirls it. If you're not used to throwing there, which Mahomes, he's used to throwing there. So
you think it comes down to Tannehill having to throw the ball? Is that Kansas? Should that be Kansas City's game plan going into it?
No, they have to stop Henry. They have to stop. If you don't stop him, they're going to keep giving him the ball. It's that simple. I mean, he's just going to run it and run it and run it, and they'll run it down your throat. And they got good tight ends, and Tannehill's a great quarterback. And I hate to even pick it, but I'll take the Chiefs at home, and I think they'll probably just get by and take Andy to the Super Bowl. So
I hear what you're saying, and believe me, all the people out there that are picking the Chiefs to win this game, completely justified. I'm gonna be that guy that takes a step outside the box here and take the underdog, not just because I think it would be a great story, but because I think that Derrick Henry just has the willpower. If you listen to him during the games, if you listen to him after the games, and the way that he's speaking this team going to the Super Bowl into existence, I'm a believer at this point. I'm going to go ahead and take the Titans. I feel like I have to take the Titans in this one. It's going to be close. It's going to be a good game. Like I said, I think
it's a coin toss for me because they're both. The Tennessee didn't get there by a fluke. I mean, this guy's running. I mean, he's broken records. He's ready to go to the Super Bowl.
Well, and you have to think that after last year's loss to the Patriots and the way that they got, I don't want to say screwed over in overtime because the rules are the way that they are for a reason.
Right.
He's looking to redeem himself and Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and get to that next level. They want a shot at hoisting that Lombardi trophy, and they're not going to go down easy. So,
I'll tell you what, Mahomes, he don't give up. If I wanted a quarterback that does not give up, that's like Brett Favre. You just don't give up ever. Yep. You just keep playing hard, and he does that, and he's got those guys playing hard, and that's why I'm taking the Chiefs, and I think that they'll do it, even if it's by 3. It may not be by 7. I mean, it may be close. It may be a 2-point game. So
absolutely. Okay, with that, we're going to go ahead and switch over to the MLB. Something we haven't talked about on this channel yet, and we've been going for about 3 months now, but I think this is big enough news, although the season hasn't started yet. Being a couple months away, this is big enough to talk about. For those of you that haven't heard, you must be living under a rock. The Houston Astros were finally punished for their sign-stealing scandal by the MLB. And some people have agreed with it.
Why do it?
Some people have said that it wasn't enough. Some people have even said it's too much. I'm curious as to what your thoughts are on it, but let me go ahead and read the punishment here that I have written down. The MLB came out and said that the Houston Astros were punished. Manager A.J. Hinch and general manager Jeff Luhnow have been suspended for an entire year, and both have been let go by the team.
You're going now.
The club has also been fined $5 million. What is $5 million in baseball? But they've
every player on the team makes more than $5 million.
The two biggest things coming out of this is the first one. They have lost their first and second round picks in 2020 and 2021, and they've gotten to keep their championship. Now, when I say that people have said that this is enough, it's not enough. Where do you stand on it? Losing 4 picks, your 4 best picks essentially, and still being able to keep not your manager, not your GM, but ultimately you get to keep the title. Where do you stand on
bring the two teams together right now and let them play right now.
Right now.
Right now, South Florida, just let them both play now. You can't. It's hard to strip a World Series title, you know. I think,
But it's been done before.
Black Sox.
We know that the Black Sox, it happened to them in the early 1900s.
It's really sad that a team came to using the cameras at the ballpark to steal the signals from the catcher to the pitcher, and that's just sad. Now, for years, if somebody was on second base, they was always trying to see what the next pitch, and try to give a signal to the batter. That's just part of the game.
That's nothing new.
But actually have a camera set up to steal the signs and then bang on a trash can or whatever it was they were doing, or beating on the bar on the whatever, so they know it was a curveball or a fastball, or that's just ridiculous. They ought to all be kicked out of baseball for life. I mean, I just kick them all. I mean, not everybody on the team, I'm sure, was privy to, but they had to know. When you're banging a trash can in the dugout,
right,
you got to know what you're going to be saying. Hey, what's going on?
Well, and another thing that came out of this is they said that the manager didn't know the owner didn't know this was going on. I find that very hard to believe. As close as baseball owners are with their staff, how would you not know what's going on? Especially how long.
Well, Jerry Jones owned the team, then he would know what was going on. But some owners, let the manager take care of that. Take care of the team. So. Did he not know? He probably knew, but he's going to get by with saying that he didn't.
I mean, it's baffling. I mean, it really is.
But here's my thing, and a lot of us older guys will agree. They'll agree. Maybe some of them won't, but I think they will. That if this is all they're going to get out of this cheating, actually cheating the game.
Yeah, this is cheating. Don't get it twisted. This is cheating. This is like the definition.
Then they need to let up on Pete Rose, because nobody from this day to whenever is going to beat his record of hits in Major League Baseball. He has like 4,300 hits. The guy needs to be in the Hall of Fame. But what's going to happen is they're going to wait till the guy dies. They're going to put him in, and he's not going to get a chance to say anything about being in. Yeah, Pete Rose is kind of a dick. Doesn't matter. Ty Cobb was a dick. You read any book about Ty Cobb, he was a dick. A big with a capital D.
Let's say it for what it is.
And Pete Rose is that, but he still was a great baseball player. And that's what you go to the Hall for. So, yes, what they did was wrong. Any player that knew what was going on with this whole filming of these signs, that I believe that they should have to give the World Series to the other team, because that's just. What about the teams they beat in the playoffs?
That's true, but I don't think that they did any of that. I mean, there's no evidence that they did that in any other series against any other team in this.
But that was just the home games,
right?
Which it's still it's wrong. I mean,
but when you get 3 home games, that's a very big swing in a series. When you know what they're doing, especially even after the first one, you can take it to another game.
Did they win all 3 home games?
I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and look.
Regardless,
but
there should be a heftier fine than, $5 million. Are you kidding? I looked up a random player in the NBA, and his salary is like $16 million. And I never even heard of him. He's like a bencher for Dallas Mavericks. It was like $16 million. So $5 million fine, really, for an owner?
Yeah, for an owner who is.
He'll pull that out of his pocket.
It's shelling out literally hundreds of billions of dollars to fund.
It should have been $500 million. Then that would have put him in, or $50 million. Something that's a little more than
significant.
A quarter of one of his players' salaries.
Yeah,
because he'll just
understand that
the players who ever cheated will pitch in and pay the fine, and they get to keep the World Series. So yeah, I don't like cheating. Period. I don't like cheating when you're playing games. I don't like cheating I don't like cheating anywhere.
Patriots.
Yeah,
but
yeah, who cheats on a 1-11 team when they play a 1-11 team and you cheated on them? They got by with it. The league did nothing.
It's a story for a different day. I think we should do a whole episode on the Patriots scandal.
Let's do a whole episode on cheaters. In not only NFL, but, this whole baseball over the years. Who's tried what? The salve and the.
Hey, you might see that coming very soon. We'll see.
Right. I agree that there needs to be more.
I'm also in that boat. I'm not sure if players should be let go or suspended. I mean, if you were able to prove with evidence which players were involved, maybe I could get on board with that. But I do think there needed to be more draft picks taken away, and I feel like the gentleman involved, the general manager and the manager of the team, a 1-year suspension is nothing because they can come back and go to any other organization and get a job and keep making millions. It's just.
I don't think the story's over yet. I think that there's going to be more on it. There probably already has been if you got the Major League Baseball Network, or I'm sure they're talking 24/7 about it. I don't agree with. I think it needed to be stiffer. I know some people are saying, "Oh well, no, that's enough of a fine." But
there's some people that think that taking these 4 draft picks and this fine is outrageous, which blows my mind. I mean, actually blows my mind.
You cheated. You cheated in the World Series, which is the creme de la creme, really, of any sport. Mama, apple pie, and baseball. It is. You just don't cheat in baseball.
It's the crown jewel. It's the crown jewel of American sports, America's pastime, and I agree. That's something you don't do. And this is something as me growing up, from
just to give you why you don't cheat in baseball. Okay, Pete Rose bet on baseball. He did bet on his own team to win. He bet on his team to win,
which a lot of people don't take that.
But he's banned for life. Michael Jordan bet on all games in baseball and in basketball. He got nothing.
Well,
nothing out of it. And Michael Jordan's one of the greatest players to ever play.
I wouldn't say.
But he had a betting problem, and he still bets to this day.
I agree that he has a gambling addiction, but now obviously this isn't official. But he took 1.5 years off from basketball, and I don't think that's because he wanted to. I think that's because the commissioner and him had an under-the-table deal. I will not suspend you if you retire. Well, I think that's what happened.
He had been betting, not only him, but there was other players named. I can't remember right offhand, but they were betting against each other on these games. But that's the difference between baseball and the NBA or the NFL or whatever. Baseball is sacred. It always has been. It's the game of America. And that's why that's not stiff enough, because you've got one of the best hitter in the game that is banned from the Hall of Fame. And then these jokers go and do this. I'm sorry, but I'm calling them jokers. They're not, if they're on TV, I'm not watching them at least until after the,
2021 season.
Yeah, I'm not watching. Well, I'm not watching Houston. I don't care who they're playing. I ain't watching them.
Let's go ahead and transition this. Go ahead and let us know in the comments below what you think of the Houston Astros punishment. Was it enough? Was it too much? Was it just right? Go ahead and give us your opinion.
Right. Give us what you think it should be. Do you think Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame? I do.
I mean, I do too.
I think if you want to put an asterisk there and say, not in as a manager because he bet on his own team, fine, but for what he did as a player, he needs to be in the Hall of Fame.
I agree. Let's go ahead and switch to this. Maybe something a little more, exciting. At least for me, being a Blue Jays fan and being a fan of Josh Donaldson. He went and signed with a team in the AL Central. The Minnesota Twins signed Josh Donaldson to a 4-year, $92 million contract. As you know, the Twins won the AL Central last year with 101 wins, although they did get swept in the ALDS by the New York Yankees 3-0.
Here in Illinois, we don't like the Twins. Sorry.
Donaldson played 155 out of 162 games last year, had 94 RBIs and 37 home runs, the most since his last All-Star season in 2016. So he's really bouncing back. I want to know, as a White Sox fan,
yes,
being in the AL Central, how worried are you? Although we know of all the prospects that are coming up and all the players that they've now acquired and signed, they should be a really good club this year. How worried are you having to face the Minnesota Twins 25 plus times a year now?
Always worried facing the Twins. I don't know how we didn't beat them very many times last year, but White Sox have a young team. Donaldson, I didn't want to see go there, but we'll deal with it. White Sox forever. We should, with the players that we have, if people. The problem with today is people come, people go, they get a better deal, they leave, so it's hard to put together that core unit.
And, you also expect Cleveland to take a step back, though. So if the White Sox are taking a step forward, Cleveland's taking a step back. I think that puts Minnesota obviously at number one at this point if they're going to win another 100 games. But if the White Sox are in second, if they see each other in the playoffs, anything can happen in a 5-game series. Do you think that Chicago still has enough to push for that?
I don't know. They play. Sometimes they have good years before the All-Star break, and then it all falls apart. And this last year they just couldn't string it together at all. So I don't know. We'll see. I think it's just an omen with the Sox right now. But since 05, we need Ozzie Guillen back. Ozzie, if you're listening, come back and coach the White Sox. We need your leadership.
I don't know if you can see it on the camera here, but looking for another one of these pennants right here, all the way back from 2005. Haven't made it back to the World Series.
Just remember, Cub fans, we started it in 05. We got you rolling.
Okay, and wrapping up the MLB, we're going to go ahead and switch over to the NBA. We're going to finish things up here. Going back to last week, first of all, let's go ahead and show it off. Repping the Russell Westbrook, Oklahoma City jersey, Kawhi Leonard, Toronto Raptors jersey.
Retro.
And, of course, have to rock the Houston Rockets hat as Russell Westbrook was traded there over the summer. But let's go ahead.
Hey, hold on. Don't get it twisted. I'm not a Raptors fan.
Yeah, this is for me. This is for me. This was a gesture from me, and I appreciate it because I'll take the win there.
Not a Raptors fan.
Let's go ahead.
I like the Spurs.
You like the old school Lakers.
And I like Boban
Marjanovic. Let's go ahead and jump into things though. Going back to last week, we had 9 games on Wednesday last week. I went 6-3. He went 5-4. I won by 1 game. We both went positive though for the 3rd week in a row now, bringing my total up to 23-14. Your total scraping just over 519 and 18. I'm proud.
Isn't that something though?
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
I'm an old school basketball. I didn't pay much attention other than just watching. But he's really got me into the NBA now, so I appreciate that. And I still can't say those names, but I know which players they are and what numbers they are. But I'll let him say the names. And I can say Boban.
He knows Boban. He knows Boban. That's the important thing. Let us know if you know Boban down in the comment section below. We have 7 games, though, for tomorrow's games, which is January 17th on a Friday. Normally it'd be a Wednesday, but we got a little backed up this week. Nothing wrong with that.
We'll take Friday games.
Nothing wrong with that.
Take Friday games.
Friday NBA action.
Friday's payday. People will be betting. They want to know the numbers.
Let's go ahead and get into it here. 7 games, starting off with my Toronto Raptors hosting the Washington Wizards.
Bullets.
Well, this is gonna be a win. I'll tell it for what it is. Toronto favored by 10 points in this. Honestly should be higher, but I'm gonna go ahead and take the Raptors. Pascal Siakam is back. He's looking great.
He's back, but his numbers weren't up, so maybe his numbers will go up Friday night.
Yeah, he's got to get back into the flow of things. Spicy P's got to work it. He's got
Is Van Fleet back? Is the thing?
No.
Yeah, I like Van Fleet.
I know you do. I love Freddie.
I'll take Toronto also. I don't think the Wizards have enough to. Although they did win the last couple times.
Just not our game, but they did win a couple.
Yeah, we didn't pick them, but they did. I mean, looking back, the Wizards aren't playing too terribly bad, but it's talent.
Yeah, that's really what they're lacking is Bradley Beal and the misfits. But no, I'm just kidding. I
ain't putting anybody down, but they just when they go up against a team like the Raptors,
hey, Davies Bertans from the Spurs playing on the Wizards, he's doing great right now. I also think Thomas Bryant is a bright spot, but really it's Bradley Beal putting that team on his back. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Let's go into number 2 here. Game number 2. Minnesota Timberwolves going to Indiana, taking on the Pacers. Karl Anthony Towns is still out for the Timberwolves, and they just traded away Jeff Teague to the Atlanta Hawks for Allen Crabbe. So I don't know what they're doing. I think they're just trying to come up with salary cap relief as Allen Crabbe is on an expiring contract. But I'm going to go ahead and take the Pacers in this one. Malcolm Brogdon is back. Domantas Sabonis has been playing like an animal the past couple games.
Pacers have been on a roll.
There's no spread for this game, but I would imagine that the Pacers would be favored by more than 3 at least. So I'm going to go ahead and take Indiana.
Timberwolves, yeah, that might be more than you think. It might be at least 7.
At least 3. They're not.
I'll take the Pacers on that too. Pacers are hot right now.
3 points.
And they're really hot at home. So,
Which we also have a date set for Victor Oladipo's return, January 29th. Look for the former All-Star to come back and really push this team to the next level. Maybe even push for.
you'll see him on the 3rd then.
I will be going to that Dallas Mavericks Indiana Pacers game. So
Awesome.
excited to see that. Let's go into game number 3 here. The Chicago Bulls taking on the Philadelphia 76ers in Pennsylvania. Philly favored by 7.5, as they probably should be.
They scare me. Philly scares me. One night they're up, the next night it's a turkey shoot.
They just got, I don't want to say blown out, but they got beat handily by the Nets with Kyrie Irving coming back off injury. But I know exactly what you mean. It's hit and miss taking Philly. So
Philly at home.
yeah, I think against Chicago, I'm going to go ahead and take them as well. Let's just go ahead and keep it going here. The Atlanta Hawks going to San Antonio, taking on Pop and the Spurs. Spurs favored by 8.5.
That's a lot of points, man.
They did just trade for Jeff Teague. I don't think that him and Trae Young is going to be enough to push that team over the edge to beat the Spurs with DeRozan, and who actually played really well.
Yeah, but 8.5, I mean, that's a lot of points. I mean, the Spurs have been struggling here of late.
They did beat the Celtics by double digits when we did take
Isn't
the
that
Celtics
something?
to win.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
I'm taking the Spurs. They're at home, right?
I think yes, they are. I'm also going to take the Spurs. We have agreed on every game so far. This is nice. We usually have some differences here. The Portland Trailblazers going to Dallas to take on Boban
Bojanovic.
Luka and company. There's no spread for this game, but I would imagine that Dallas would be favored
At
being
home?
at home against the Blazers.
Yeah, probably 2 or 3.
I know that the Blazers have had a couple ugly losses, a couple ugly wins, if you will. Just Luka. He had a bad couple games last week, but he really turned it on with that triple-double that he had. Was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, back-to-back. I think I still have to go with Dallas in this one.
Yeah, I'm taking Dallas at home.
Right.
Not to say that the Blazers are a good team, you know.
No, they are.
Little baby Lillard, he'll put up his points, but no, not at home.
I think him and especially Carmelo Anthony has been playing really well as of late. I think he had 18 points in that last game that they won. We'll be talking about the Blazers here in a couple minutes, but let's go ahead and finish up these last 2 games here. The Miami Heat going to Oklahoma City to take on Chris Paul and the Thunder. The Thunder, they look good. They look really good. They're the 7th seed right now in the Western Conference. They're 3 or 4 games over 500, I believe. 5 games, excuse
Who's
me.
that?
Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
23 and 18. I think that I really want to take the Heat in this one, but I'm really leaning towards the Thunder. I don't know. Something's telling me to pick them.
Yeah, I'm taking Jimmy.
I'm going to take Jimmy.
I'm taking Jimmy and the Heat.
There we go. We finally have a disagreement.
Jimmy's got a fire in him.
That he does.
He's cussing at people. He's wanting to fight. He's ready to go out and win some games.
Which they have a half-game lead on the Celtics for the 2nd seed now in the Eastern Conference, which, man, if you would have told me the Miami Heat would have been the 2nd best team in the East at the beginning of the season, I wouldn't have believed you.
It's the Miami Jimmies.
Let's go ahead. Last game here. Your man, Kevin Love and the Cavaliers. I should say a disgruntled.
Dropping down.
A disgruntled Kevin Love and the
Yeah,
Cavaliers.
well.
Going to Memphis, taking on the Grizz, John Morant, Jonas Valanciunas, and all
JVs. Man, that's a tough one for me because I love Kevin Love and I love JV.
Memphis, 19 and 22. The Cavaliers are an abysmal 12 and 29. I think I'm going to go with Memphis.
They're at Memphis.
Yeah, favored by 8. Memphis favored by 8 points here.
Valanciunas is playing really good too.
Him and Morant both had 20-plus points in that win against the Rockets. So I think I'm looking at.
I'm going with the Grizzlies.
Yep, there we go.
We only had 1 game there.
One disagreement here. I think that is the most that we've had in common the entire time we've been doing this so far.
7 games. Well,
I'm sure there'll be a day.
that's going to be the breaker right there.
Yep, that is.
Somebody's going to go down. Maybe.
Very interested to see how this week plays out. Let's go ahead. If you want to recap the games that we picked, go ahead and rewind it. Also, let us know your game on Friday that you're most looking forward to in the comments below. But with that said, we got a couple more things here before we wrap up today's episode. One thing that I wanted to talk about, speaking of the Portland Trailblazers, was CJ McCollum on his podcast mentioned that Damian Lillard, his teammate, backcourt mate, was talking about All-Star Weekend, and Baby Dame suggested a one-on-one tournament for the All-Star game between NBA stars for money. Now, we know that the NBA is always looking to innovate when it comes to the All-Star break.
It would have to be for charity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they always are looking for new things, because I think things get stagnant. They get boring. It's
Right.
the same thing every year.
Yeah.
Would you be on board with, let's say, an 8-player tournament one-on-one for, let's say, $5 million to a charity of your choice?
Yeah, that sounds really good.
And then,
depending on what the rules are, and
right. I mean, knowing nothing of the rules and the stipulations that would come along with it, would you be on board with a one-on-one tournament?
Yeah. No, without knowing, either way, just knowing the rules and who's going to be what 8 players are they going to pick,
right? And how they would do that process. Would it be guys that play in the All-Star game? Would it be guys that are from the skills competition, the dunk competition? Would rookies be allowed? Stuff like that.
Well, I mean, you could do it, guards on guards, and you could actually have more than 8 players if you wanted to.
Which actually, this just came to me now that you mentioned that. If you were to have 4 guards and 4 big men, like they do in the skills challenge, and have them go up against each other, and then the final round be the best big men of the tournament go up against the best guard of the tournament.
Yeah, that would work.
I think that would be really interesting, and have a battle of big versus small, and I think it'd be really entertaining.
I like that. I like that.
If you think that Damian Lillard's idea would be a great idea for the All-Star game, go ahead and let us know again in the comments below. What are the rules would you like to see implemented for that if the tournament were to happen, and who would you like to see in it? Go ahead and let us know down there in the box.
Are they bringing the dunk? The 3-point challenge back?
Yeah, they're doing
that. The dunk challenge.
I think they're doing the 3-point contest still. They're doing the dunk contest, the All-Star Game, Rising Stars skills competition, and I think this year they're also doing the trick shot challenge, which I think is their way of innovating. And I think there's like 8 different spots on the floor that you have to make it from, including like half court. I
bet Larry Bird could come back right now and beat half the guys in the tournament today.
At 63?
I've heard that he shows up to practice sometimes and just takes his suit jacket off and starts draining them.
Where did you hear that?
I just heard that. I don't remember where, but I heard that he does that still. And he's got to be, what, in his 60s?
He's 63.
Yeah.
Or 64 maybe.
The guy is he's Larry Bird, man.
It's a Larry Bird, man.
That's right. Don't get it twisted.
All I'm going to say is ask Michael Jordan, ask Xavier McDaniels.
I bet Jordan could drain him. He's not going to get up as high as he used to. He's a little chunky.
Well, didn't you
walk the golf course?
Yeah, I was just about to say, didn't you tell him to get rid of the rascal and the golf cart there? But
Michael.
But let's go ahead. We got one more thing before we finish today's episode. The Utah Jazz have been smoking the league as of late. They made a trade for Jordan Clarkson about 2.5 weeks ago from the Cavaliers. As their 6th man coming into the game and leading that second unit, the Jazz have won 10 in a row. They're tied for second place in the Western Conference with Denver. And man, I mean,
I don't think Denver's going to outlast the Jazz. I've been saying this since we started. The Jazz are a good team. I mean, you've said it too. The Jazz are a well-rounded, talented team.
I mean, when you have a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year in Rudy Gobert, you have a rising star in Donovan Mitchell, you have a seasoned vet in Mike Conley, and you have a bench with Bogdan Bogdanovic, Joe Ingles, now Jordan Clarkson. I mean, God,
how can you go wrong?
The team is.
I could coach those guys.
The team is so deep, and head coach Quinn Snyder, I think, does a great job. The only thing with the Jazz is every single year, the first 2 or 3 months. Yeah, who?
Oh yeah, dropping down. They need Kevin Love. That would round it out.
Who do you give up for Kevin Love? He has a huge contract. I mean, you don't move Mike Conley and maybe a couple other pieces for that. Why would you do that?
I just got a sad feeling he's end up with the Lakers.
Kevin?
Yeah.
Oh no. I said it 2 or 3 weeks
Because
ago.
him and LeBron are still tight.
Listen, I said it
I don't know.
I said it 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I'll say it again. Kevin Love is going to end up either with the Celtics or with the Trailblazers. I'm telling you right now. If it doesn't happen, he's going to stay in Cleveland.
He's my man. He's the double-double man.
All I'm saying is that the Jazz do this every year where they have 2 or 3 months where they start off really slow. Like they're like a damn snail. And then they turn it on like this. But they've turned it on sooner rather than later because in years past they've ended up as like the 5 seed or the 6 seed. Now you see them what they're capable of as the 2 seed in the Western Conference. They're tied for second place. I really think
they're a good team. They're fun to watch,
I
too.
really think if they make it to the second round or the conference finals, that they're going to give whoever that is a hell of a time, and they're going to have a real shot at making it farther than people think. I mean, call me crazy, but if you want to go back and
You're talking about the Jazz, but I watched part of the Grizzly game the other night, and that was they were actually fun to watch.
oh yeah,
they were fun to watch. They moved the ball quick. They steal the ball. It was a fun game to watch.
I think the three-man combination of Morant, Jackson Jr. and Valanciunas. I'm telling you. That core is going to grow together, and they're going to get a couple more pieces, and they're going to be a really dangerous club.
I hate to say this, but I was pissed when they traded him, but I think it was in his best interest to go.
Was.
I
I think for both parties involved, it was for the best.
He's done great there, and his game, he just stepped it up. He stepped it up. So
I agree.
He's one of my favorites.
I agree, 100%. But if there's any more trades along the way, we know the deadline's coming up here in about 3 weeks. We'll go ahead and report any trades that end up happening. Like I said, the only one was that Allen Crabbe for Jeff Teague trade from Atlanta to Minnesota, vice versa. But nothing too crazy. I think Atlanta wanted to bring in. Excuse me, I'm starting to lose my voice. I think Atlanta just wanted to bring in another veteran to help Trae Young. Along the way in the rest of the season. But with that said, I think we're going to wrap it up here.
I just have one more thing to add.
Oh, what's that?
Epstein didn't kill himself.